Very
Yeah.
nice.
And I am in Brooklyn, New York.
Yeah. All right.
Oh,
Two
nice.
very, very different places.
What part of Brooklyn?
I live in Brooklyn Heights.
Okay.
I've been in Brooklyn for almost 4 years now. In Brooklyn Heights for a little less than a year. I was in Gowanus before,
Okay.
which is a bit of a very different vibe from Brooklyn Heights, but I love them both. Yeah. Are you
Yeah,
familiar with Brooklyn or?
my best friend lives in, and now I'm totally blanking. I would need to look at a map, but she lives south of Prospect Park. So
Okay.
it's
Is she in Park
yeah.
Slope
I
or
don't think so. It's
South?
like it's one of the other areas right
Yeah.
near there. You know,
Yeah. Windsor
it might
Terrace
be
or Prospect Lefferts Garden or Fort
something.
Greene.
Fort Greene
We don't,
sounds right. That's
it
right.
could be any one of those, but lovely area, lovely
Just keep
area. As I
naming
proceed to
places.
name, I'm like,
Yeah.
maybe that'll do it.
Yes, I know that she
That's
can
awesome.
walk her dog to Prospect Park. So she's like they do
That's
that a lot.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, I
awesome.
need to
Yeah.
get up there. I haven't been up to New York in so long.
Yeah, you definitely should. This is the a good time of year to do it before it gets like, swampy in the summer. So spring's a nice time for it.
Yes,
Yeah,
we've
no,
already had some swampy days here in North Carolina. So,
like already? It's too early for that.
Shauna, where
yeah,
are you
it's
based?
I'm in Memphis, but I'm actually going to be in New
Okay.
York next week for a conference. So I'm glad that you're
Oh,
saying all this,
yay.
Riley. So I'm excited for
Yeah.
you there.
Yeah,
The
I will
weather
say
has,
it randomly dropped down to like 30 when I woke up this morning, but we've had some
yeah.
true spring days. So I think next week it's supposed to get back into like the 60s and 70s and be lovely. So I hopefully it'll be nice for you.
Okay, great. Yeah, Memphis is having the same issue right now. This is my first full year in Memphis. I moved because my fiance got a job out here. And so we were like, oh, it's spring, it's gorgeous. And it's like 80 degrees one day, and the next day it was like 40. We're in a park shivering. So you just never know.
Yeah.
But
hmm
overall, it's pretty nice. And hopefully
Yeah.
it'll stay that way.
I'm from the Boston area originally, and a lot
Okay.
of the like Gives the Inversion 2 team are up there. And they informed me yesterday that everyone woke up with snow on the ground in Massachusetts. And I'm like, on April 7th, like, absolutely not. Can't be handling any of that.
No, it's too
No.
late for that. And you must be very used to the cold though. Oh my gosh, growing up in Boston. Now
Yeah,
you're in New York.
yeah.
Yeah, you're a pro when it comes to snow.
Yeah, New York's got nothing on Boston, but this winter it gave its best attempt at a Boston winter. We got a lot of snow this year, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Memphis also got snow and was not equipped to deal with the snow. Very confused. It all froze over. I don't think anyone
ugh.
drove for about a week and a half, which was such a joke in the Northeast, but
Yeah, I'm from upstate New York originally, and it's so funny to us. I've been here 10 years, and it's still hilarious to me when it gets like 2 inches of snow. No one drives for a week. All the schools close. Like it's just like everything shuts down. We had that like preemptively. The schools closed for 2 days, like in advance because snow was coming, and then we ended up getting like a dusting. But they had already closed schools, and so they were closed.
oh my
That's so
gosh.
funny.
I'm from Florida, so I'm never just not equipped to deal with snow. But I moved to the DC area right after I graduated, and we had a ton of snow that year, so I learned very quickly. But I was like, I'll take driving in a hurricane over this. I don't understand. It took me a minute, but yeah, very funny. So how long have you two been with GiveZ and the V Foundation?
I've been at the V for just over 2 years.
Okay, okay.
Same for me at Gibbsy. I started in January of whatever that was 2 years ago, January 1st, like 2024. So yeah,
Or yeah.
yeah.
And are you remote, Riley? Or
Yes, yeah.
hybrid?
So we're fully remote. We've got folks all over the place. We do have like a contingency in the Northeast just because like a lot of our executive team used to work together at another company and they're all based in Boston. But we've got folks in Hawaii. We have a couple of folks in North Carolina. Nobody in Memphis that I know of, but we've got folks all over the place.
Yeah, that's pretty much how we operate too. All over the place, completely remote.
Yeah.
No one lives in the same city. Tiana's in Philly. And yeah, everyone's
Nice.
scattered.
Yeah, even though we're very North Carolina originating, right? So we have an office. I'm here now, but nobody is required to be in the office. About half of our staff is remote and half is local. I think it's actually tipping in the mostly remote direction now, but we originated with Jim Valvano, NC State, and ESPN founded the foundation in the early 90s, and then we've grown and grown and grown, and I think it was post-pandemic, they started hiring people remotely, and we have a big contingent in California because we have a lot of wine-based events. And so we've got an office out there, but then we have people, I think we're in like 13 states or something like that. People are all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah, COVID just completely shifted the landscape. I remember I was in DC when COVID hit and was required to be in the office every day. No one was ever allowed to be remote. And then everything changed very quickly and I never went back. So I've been
Hmm.
remote ever since. But yeah, different world, different world. I think you may already know this. Deanna probably told you this. I'm going to do a little intro to kick us off that's scripted. So I'll read from that first. Once Deanna gives us that cue, she'll pop a message into the chat. And then once I'm done with that, we'll open it up with introductions. Reilly, I'll probably kick it to you first, just so there's not an
Sure.
awkward pause and figuring out who goes first. And then we'll actually go into the questions.
Perfect.
Cool.
Good, good. Make sure I have everything up. Okay.
Couple more minutes, folks. Sorry.
No, you're fine. I'd
good.
rather be here early than late, though.
Absolutely.
Everything's good to go.
How often do you guys do these types of sessions?
We do them once a month, and they're fairly new. We started at the beginning of the year. We're gonna have a
Nice.
monthly session through the end of the year, and hopefully, if all continues to go well, we'll keep going next year.
That's
But
awesome.
but yeah, usually I kind of just hop on for 30 minutes, and I like to give you all the floor and not do much of the talking, but more so just prompting the questions and the answers. So that way people can actually hear your expertise and what your experience is. So yeah, they've been going pretty well. So if again if all goes well, we'll continue at this pace and maybe we'll add in some more webinars.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's neat.
Do you two have any exciting plans coming up, either spring or summer, or hopefully gonna go on vacation somewhere?
I have 8 weddings on the docket this year,
Oh, you're
so
in that
that's
stage.
That season. Wow.
so
And I was
that's
complaining
like
about the amount of weddings I had. No, you're winning.
yeah, so that's pretty much taking up like
Oh
any
my God.
PTO, any vacation, like that is
Mhm.
what it is. But I'm really excited. There are actually all weddings of like pretty close friends of mine that I'm really excited to go to. Like it's none of the, random acquaintance, but that you have to go for some reason. Like I'm really looking forward to all of them, which is the only reason why I'm like not going insane with 8 this year.
Are you
Are
in
they all
any of
over the
them?
place? Like, are they dispersed?
I am in 2 of them,
Okay.
and they are pretty spread out. None of them are in New York City, which would be lovely. The closest one, there is one like a couple hours like drivable outside of New York, and then one in Rhode Island. I have one in Mexico, one in California, one in Kentucky. So yeah, pretty widespread.
That's great. You'll have a party every other weekend.
I know. I'm like, no need to worry about any plans. It's either going to be wedding or recovering from wedding. So
Yep. No, I'm in that season right now, but I think I have 4 this year, including mine. It'll be 5. I'm getting married in November, but
Oh, congrats.
that feels like 8 weddings in itself with all
Oh,
yeah,
the
yeah.
stuff in the planet.
that's way more stressful than just showing up and
Oh, for
attending. Yeah.
sure.
Thankfully, the big things are taken care of. We got all the vendors that now I just need to worry about the details. So we're ahead of the game, but everyone wants to know where it is, what time it's starting. I'm like, guys, it's April. I need you to hold on. I don't have the run a show yet. Just give me a few more months. So
It's funny.
yeah, very funny. All right, I will kick us off in just a second. Hey, all, I'm Shauna Medell. Storyraise's VP of Creative Studio, and I want to welcome you to this session of Storyraise Boost, a fast-track virtual learning series that'll go through the end of the year. For those who don't know, Storyraise is a solution for organizations to create personalized digital reports and videos. With a digital report, you can increase engagement with your donors and ultimately raise more funds. If you want to get some advice on your current report strategy and on modernizing your donor stewardship, you can click the link in the chat to set up some time with our team. Now, today we'll be chatting about how to achieve one-on-one donor engagement at scale for healthcare foundations. Personalized donor engagement used to be an add-on, nice to have if you happen to have time, but now you have to do it. You have to make personalization a priority if you want to communicate with your donors in ways that speak to them. Personalization, as you all know, is very complex. It's very demanding, and I'm sure those who are joining this webinar are probably a mix of professionals who oversee donor engagement and stewardship and communications. Each of you plays a very powerful role in the donor experience. And that's why we've invited two experts to share their expertise with you. We have Reilly Conroy from Version2.ai and Sarah Brickman from the V Foundation for Cancer Research. They're ready to share their insights and advice to help you all modernize your stewardship and stay connected with your donors. So Reilly, Sarah, ready to begin?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much, Shauna. I'm super excited to be here. Generous to call me an expert, but I'll take it. Just a quick intro on my end. My name's Reilly Conroy. I work with all of our healthcare partners here at Version2. I've been with the company for a little over 2 years, but have been in the kind of nonprofit fundraising technology space for the entirety of my career, with a particular focus in AI. And for those of you who are or are not familiar with Version2, we're the kind of the category creators for the virtual engagement officer and autonomous AI within the fundraising space. So using autonomous AI to add capacity to teams to help you be able to expand your engagement to reach donors that would otherwise not be getting that personalization that Shauna was just talking about. And I'm super excited to be chatting with you all today.
Thanks, Reilly. We're happy to have you. And yeah, Sarah, give us your quick intro and then we'll dive in.
Yeah, I'm Sarah Brickman. I work for the V Foundation for Cancer Research. I'm the Director of Donor Relations there. I've been at the V for about 2 years, and before that, I was in higher education. I've worked in donor relations and stewardship for about 15 years, so I've seen lots of different types of organizations and types of stewardship happening. So at the V Foundation, we raise money from donors and give that money directly to cancer researchers who are making big, bold discoveries across the US to help achieve victory over cancer. So I'm really excited to be here, excited to chat with you all about this.
All right, great. Well, let's go ahead and start with a two-part question. So I'm curious to hear how you all have seen healthcare foundations pivot to keep up with the changing landscape of donor communications. And as they've evolved over the years, what tactics did they end up doing away with? And what do you see them using now?
Sarah, do you want to kick off?
Sure. So in so many areas of our lives, we experience sort of hyper-personalized communication. Our feeds are curated a little bit by us, a lot by algorithms to show us relatable and relevant content. And as that has sort of become everyone's experience in the broader world, I think it's been very important for nonprofits generally to hew in that direction and try and really speak to donors in a way that shows that we see them, that shows that we understand their relationship with our organization, that we understand why they gave. And so I think that sort of hyper personalization, when we are able to achieve it, to your point, Shauna, is something that a lot of organizations are trying to do.
Yeah, I think, Sarah, I completely agree. I think, we're at a stage in philanthropy where it's not just enough for organizations to have a donor's attention. They really have to earn a place in a donor's life by, providing that highest level of personalization or keeping donors engaged in ways that are unique and personal to them. And I think this is just sort of a natural connection to where we're at more broadly in the fundraising and philanthropy space. We're seeing donor counts decline, and so there's a little bit more competition, and so we have to stand out. And I think donor expectations, like you said, Sarah, are shifting a little bit. Whether we think of it consciously or subconsciously, donors are consumers in the broader world. So if Amazon can remind them that they need to order paper towels, it's in the same way they expect some degree of that type of, really, specific, opportunities to engage with the nonprofits they support. And I think of this particularly like, donors want to be able to, say, what did I give to last year and how much did I give? And have that level of connective and kind of specificity with those organizations, which I think has been a shift in the last couple of years, both just in the nonprofit space and just globally with what we're seeing in kind of the e-commerce space at large.
Yeah, I think you both hit the nail on the head where every facet of our lives has become overly personalized. Like I even think of Spotify. Spotify knows what I want to listen to before I know what I want to listen to. And if Spotify and Amazon and all of these other companies can get that right, that expectation then trickles down to organizations that people give to and are involved with, which is challenging because those organizations don't have the same kind of bandwidth or staff. So it's constantly this game of catch up, right? And I'm curious to hear from you all. What have you seen are the moments in the donor journey where personalization actually changes how a donor behaves or reacts or gives? And whoever wants to kick it off, feel free.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll say from oh,
Go ahead.
sorry. I was going to say from what we found. So, and just a bit of context here. Here at Version 2, we have virtual engagement officers who are autonomously managing portfolios of donors who would otherwise just be receiving mass communications. And so, for a lot of these donors, it's the first time they're hearing in a one-to-one capacity, whether that's from an AI or from a human, from the organization. And I've found that the kind of two biggest, maybe three biggest areas where we see the most impact is in stewardship. Just the ability to send a quick, thank you personal text goes a long way compared to, waiting a few weeks for the traditional form letter to come. Having those, personal acknowledgments for stewardship is a really great way to, keep donors around. I would also kind of relate that to recapturing lapsed donors. We've seen a lot of success there where, you might send out a general appeal of trying to, get folks to renew support. But the ability to go to someone and ask them, what kept you connected to XYZ organization in the past is much more impactful in getting that donor to recapture. And then just anecdotally, one of the other things that we've seen, our virtual engagement officers will often reach out to donors to wish them a happy birthday. And that is one of the texts or, outreaches that get the most positive responses from donors. And oftentimes it's like, I haven't heard from the organization in years, thank you for thinking of me. I've had a couple of people being like, to celebrate, I'm going to make a gift, in honor of my birthday. And so I think it's just those moments of, I see you, and really paying attention to who they are as an individual that really, resonate most with the donor and impact the donor experience, but also will have the most, profound impact on your fundraising outcomes.
Yeah, exactly. I think it always comes back to how can we show donors that we see them, that we understand them, and speak directly to them in a way that's responsive, right? In a way that's not just us pushing information to them, or asking them for things. So I think about this sort of in terms of deep personalization versus shallow personalization. Shallow personalization is sort of non-negotiable at this point. With all of the data tools that we have, we shouldn't be getting someone's name wrong. We shouldn't be spelling it wrong. Now, there's are challenges to that, right? We all run into data problems. We all run into that. But when we get those basics wrong, it can actually move the relationship backwards if they're upset about something. So it's still very important. In my work, what I think probably the most about is the deep personalization side. So when donors feel like we've made an effort to speak to them and to really understand them on a deeper level, what their motivations are that will bring them closer to the cause. It's matching that right message to the right donor at the right time, right? So at the V, that means giving our donors meaningful and rich updates on the progress of cancer research, right? Giving them sort of an insider's view on what is happening in the research space that they have given us money to fund. So whether that's research that's specific to a cancer that they have a connection to, like their mother passed away from breast cancer, in their region or a specific cancer center. So their child was treated at Duke Children's, or research that's conducted by a scientist that they're in some way familiar with because they heard about them or saw them speak at one of our events. So trying to draw that line, make that connection between the ways that they've engaged with us in the past and continuing that conversation, that kind of personalization is what I find moves people to act.
Mm-hmm. Well said. Thank you both. And I know we've touched on this a bit already, the struggle to scale donor personalization. So from your experience, what are the pain points? And I know there are many, I'll preface it with that. But what are the major challenges? Is it getting the data right? Is it the workflow? Are teams lacking the right technology? Is there just utter confusion over who actually owns the personalization process? It's kind of like this, question mark of who's doing what, or is it something else? And Reilly, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, sure. I think, like you said, it's probably a little bit of all of the above. I think the biggest thing, I think there's, to me, two areas that kind of jump out. The first really comes down to actual staff capacity. If we think about, when it comes to managing personal relationships, every organization, maybe 99% of organizations have far more donors that if they had all the time in the world, all the staff in the world, that they would want to be managing one-to-one. Like in an ideal world, every donor would have a personal connection to, a gift officer. But obviously just the way that the kind of ratio between fundraisers and donors is set up, that's just not, it's not, been practical. And so I think a lot of it comes down to people finding enough time in the day to do the things that they all know that they want to do and would be best practice, but it just comes down to bandwidth. And I think there are so many tools out there that people use to streamline some form of their workflow and hopefully give them some time back in their day to be a bit more productive. But there's a ceiling to how much more productive we can all be, right? We can only optimize ourselves so much. And so I think of, in my world, we're talking about AI that adds capacity without requiring staff to spend time engaging with it, that can really definitively complement teams. And I think that's a big piece that we see impact, because the other thing I think that is a challenge is some of these personalization workflows, that we try to do with those mid-level donors or, lower level donors, are rigid. They break down, and then someone's job to pick the pieces back up. And so we need something that we can just trust to work in the background and really add capacity without continuing to stretch our staff thinner and thinner.
Yeah, that's definitely a huge one, especially at smaller organizations. I mean, the V, we thankfully raised a lot of money and we are able to put that money towards cancer research, but we do have a small team, right? Our donor relations team is 2 people, and we're kind of overseeing how we talk to major and leadership donors primarily, but also kind of thinking about how that goes through the whole organization and how our donors are hearing from us in different ways. And just we've got our head in a million different places and we wear a million different hats. And so, yeah, capacity is a huge thing. At the V, when it comes to that, when it comes to sort of workflow and the ownership piece of it, we do benefit from having very strong relationships with our teammates internally, and we lean on each other a lot. Reporting on cancer research is complex and requires strong working relationships with our colleagues, especially who manage our granting process and are the ones interfacing with our grantees. So gathering that information from them is a big piece of the puzzle. And so we're able to lean on our teams for that as well. But we use a lot of tools to do that, right? We're always kind of leaning into each other's systems and workflows and comparing ideas. And, I was just talking to them about optimizing something this morning, like you do it this way and I do it this way. So how do we streamline that? But we are a limited number of people. So tools are definitely very helpful to us. Data is another big blocker that I've seen, I think, everywhere that I've worked. I said shallow personalization is non-negotiable, right? We have to be getting these details about our donors right, but we all have issues with it, and we get stuck because we have these really big ideas, but we don't necessarily trust the accuracy of our data to be able to execute on them. So I am excited about the potential of AI to help us with some of these data integrity issues because I think there's tremendous potential there. But one way we handle it is that we decide on what data we do trust and run with that. And so a big piece of that for us has been our event data. We know who attended our events. We know what they saw there because we put the program together. So we can group them in that way and steward them as a cohort. And then we use tools like Storyraise that to allow us to tailor content for each cohort without having a huge lift, right? Like if you have a tool that can streamline that for you, then you've done a little bit with data, you've done a little bit with your workflow, and you are able to maximize the capacity of your team.
Great, great. And I think this leads us really beautifully into the next question where, you can rely on automation, but you also can't forget about the human component, right? So it's this constant delicate balance. So what parts of donor engagement should involve automation, should involve technology, and what parts need to stay human, need to have that one-on-one connection with a person and not a robot? So I'm sure you both have very strong feelings about that, considering the fields that you're in. Sarah, why don't we kick it to you first?
So I love this question because I might sound a little bit crazy, but I believe that in donor relations and stewardship, like 90% of what we do can be automated at some level, right? We can use AI tools or whatever other productivity tools are available to us to streamline the work that we're doing and really focus on the things that do need that human component. AI is transforming work for everyone and removing the burden of things like note taking and scheduling, data management and analysis, admin communication, even some more advanced content and idea generation. It's a partner, right? It can be a partner in developing those things. And I think we really need to embrace it as a partner to make the best use of our limited time and resources. But I think where humans have the strongest role still, and I don't think that this will go away, is that gut check, right? The feeling part of the relationship fundraising. Are we really speaking to this donor? What vibe am I getting from them? Do they feel seen and heard by us and like they're really making a difference? There are data points and there are things that we can look at that will tell us that from sort of an empirical or quantitative measurement, but there is still something unique about a human to human relationship and communication and kind of streamlining our ways and our work in all the ways that we can allows us to really focus our energy on that piece where the human element really makes a difference.
Yeah, Sarah, I think you're spot on. And I think there's areas where it's sort of obvious of, where AI should fit in, those really, monotonous tasks that we can automate. And I'm not just saying AI, but any type of kind of automation. And then there's some obvious, positions where technology, can't step in. An AI is never going to be able to take a donor out to dinner and shake hands. And so I think, there's certainly some gray areas and maybe some differences in opinions of where technology should leave off and where humans should step in. But I think we're also starting to see a shift away from people believing that like automation and AI, and certainly autonomous AI are inherently impersonal. I think we're starting to see that people just understand it as different. And there are actually some, donors out there that might prefer working with AI rather than a human. There's many that prefer the human touch, but some that, don't want to have to do the small talk about the weather or go out to dinner, where it might be meeting them where they're at to have a bit of a different opportunity to engage with AI versus a human. And so I think it's just understanding like who your donors are and what they need. And Sarah, going back to your part, having that gut check of knowing, where it fits in and, I guess meeting donors where they're at, and understanding that donors are different and want different things and are unique in that sense. So just, being able to cater to those different preferences.
Yeah, thank you both. I think you've given people a lot to think about. And before we wrap up, Sarah, I know you created a digital report for the V Foundation. I'd love to pull it up now and give you the chance to walk us through a bit of the report. You don't have to go through every single page. I know it is relatively short, but if you could tell us a little bit about how you used audience segmentation, how the report was impactful, why you chose to go the digital route. I know I just gave you a lot to cover, but cover what you want in a minute or two.
Yeah, so I mentioned this earlier, right? We do these cohort reports for our events. So is one of our signature events that we do. We get just happened. This report was sent about 4 months before that event as kind of a warming thing to people who have given or attended past events and to people who were going to be coming to the next event. So kind of we're doing stewardship and cultivation at the same time. We've got a message from our chief development officer there. Down at the bottom, we have there's some photos from last year's event, some really beautiful to kind of put people back in that space, right? That's one of the great things about being able to use these really visual reports is that we can send people, particularly with events, back to that feeling that they had that night, right? Our events are such a special thing that it's just, you kind of just have to experience it. They're these beautiful spaces where people come and they make a real difference together, and there's a lot of community around it. So to put people back in that space with those photos and visuals. At the bottom, we have just some stats. There's our mission, and then the stats are specific to the Bay Area, right? So Sonoma, this is the impact that we've made in their community. So that speaks particularly to them. The next page again, we've got this big splashy photo at the top of the gala and the auction, which is an exciting part of the evening. And then these are going to be faces that people have seen before, right? These are grantees that were funded by the event, right? They were represented. They were named in honor of these folks. So these are some of our key volunteers. So you can see that was from last year's event. This is a grant that was funded a couple years ago. So just an update on her progress. Our grants span anywhere from 4 to 5 years, so we can give progress year over year. And this one a couple years ago was in honor of Leslie Sbrocco. And then this is an update, a researcher that had previously spoken at the event that we actually gave an additional grant to because his research was so amazing. We wanted to give him additional funding. So we gave him one of our all-star grants, which is $1 million. It's kind of refunding to move things along in a meaningful way. And then again, moving that conversation forward, we have the save the date for the next event. So this went out about 4 months before that. We have the promotional video. It leads to where they can register when that's open. So the video piece, being able to just repurpose that content, right? That content lives somewhere else. It's something that's been used in our other promotional materials, but we pull it here. And again, we put people in that space so that they're excited about the event and they feel good and in remembering what they've already contributed to. So yeah, we got some great response to this. The committee that puts the event together was like, "Oh my God, how can we share this? What can we do with this?" And they wanted to like send it around. We were like, "Chill, we're gonna send it to everyone, and then you can you can move it around as you need to." But it was great. We got some great feedback. It was kind of our first big one that we sent out to a lot of people. It was very well received.
Oh, great. I'm so happy to hear that. And what I love about this Storyraise report is it's very short, it's to the point, it's clean. Like you just have the information that you need. You have good visuals, video, photos. Like that's exactly what we're trying to do with Storyraise reports. And I think you really just it's such a stellar example that we love to point people to it. And I'm glad that you've been getting such great feedback on it. Thank you again, Reilly and Sarah, for joining us. I'm gonna wrap us up, but of course, if anyone has any questions, feel free to keep dropping them in the chat. We appreciate your time and your insights. To learn more about Version2's AI's work, click on the link in the LinkedIn live chat below. And again, if you're looking for advice on your report strategy and modernizing your donor stewardship, you can click the link in the chat to set up some time with the Storyraise team. If you have any questions about Storyraise or anything we discussed during our webinar today, you can reach out to me at shauna@storyraise.com. We're so glad you all could join us for this installment of Boost. Stay tuned for our next session on May 20th. We'll have experts from Prisma and JQ International with us, to talk about the importance of storytelling and donor communications for Jewish organizations. And we'll see you next time. Thanks again, Reilly and Sarah. This was great. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Take care.